showtime, folks.
As you all just saw this afternoon, the president was out in the Rose Garden alongside with family caregivers, people with disabilities, long-term care workers, long-term care workers, early educators, veterans, and aging advocates signed an executive order to expand access to affordable, high-quality care and provide support for care workers and family caregivers. This executive order, which includes more than 50 directives for agencies across the government, is the most comprehensive set of executive actions by any president has ever taken to make care more affordable and accessible for hardworking families and further support care workers and family caregivers.
Here we go again.
The reality is that too many families are struggling to access the affordable, high-quality care they need. And too many care workers lack the support they need to do their critical work and are leaving the workforce. The results have hurt our economy and American workers, particularly women. President Biden wants to change our trajectory and transform care in this country, and that is reflected in his fiscal year 2024 budget. President Biden has also wants to ensure taxpayers get the best value for investments we've already made by helping to make American families access care, all while supporting care workers and family caregivers and growing our economy as well. And that is exactly what this executive order will do. Now, this next topper here that I have, it's just one, it feels like every week, at least once a week, I come to the podium and I talk about this gun violence epidemic that we're seeing across the country and how our communities and families across America, yet again, have been devastated by tragic acts of gun violence. And it is not just devastating for me, I'm sure it's devastating for all of you and your families. It's devastating for this president, it's devastating for our administration, and to have to continue to do that over and over again. And so let me just lay out, sadly, what we have seen these last couple of days. 4 young people killed at a Sweet 16 party in Dadeville, Alabama. 2 killed and 4 others injured on Saturday night in a crowded public park in Louisville. A bright, young, loving 16-year-old kid, Ralph Yarl, shot in the head in Missouri after ringing the wrong doorbell. And we just learned a few hours ago, about 12 hours ago, about a young woman, 20-year-old woman in upstate New York, who was killed for turning down the wrong driveway. Look. And these are just some of the tragedies that actually have made the headlines. As you saw from the president, he and the First Lady are grieving for those killed and the many others injured and fighting for their lives in the wake of this gun violence that we're seeing across the country. The president had the chance to speak on the phone with Ralph last night, in addition to talking about Ralph's success in high school, his hopes for the future, and wishing him a speedy recovery. The president committed to Ralph and his mom, as he has committed to so many other survivors, that he will continue to fight for gun safety reforms. That's because action on gun safety is what we owe. It is what we owe to those who have had their lives stolen from them. And it is what the American people want to see. Majority of the American people want to see us take action. Despite that, last week we saw many national Republican elected officials stand alongside NRA in a race to the bottom on dangerous laws that further erode gun safety. Though the proposals they're pushing take us in the wrong direction, at a time when we're seeing gun violence surging, particularly gun deaths of our children. Now, this stat, as you've heard me say many times, the president put it in his statement recently, guns is the leading cause of death in our children. Guns is the leading cause of death in our children.
How?
So, as the president has said, he wants to work across the aisle in good faith on federal legislation that will save lives It is within Congress's power to require safe storage of firearms, require background checks for all gun sales, eliminate gun manufacturers' immunity from liability, and ban assault weapons, and also high-capacity magazines. And he continues to believe this should happen without delay. This is something that they can do today if they chose. Okay, on to the next topic. As you saw on Friday, the Supreme Court temporarily paused the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals decision that, just like the Texas District Court's decision, attempts to disregard FDA's scientific judgment regarding mifepristone. This administration continues to stand by FDA's evidence-based approval of mifepristone and the agency's independent expert authority to review, approve, and regulate a wide range of prescription drugs. In recent weeks, we've seen hundreds of pharmaceutical companies and executives, attorney generals from across the country, and members of Congress all speak out against the dangerous precedent this court decision could set if it does stand.
Hey, that's pretty good.
We've seen even conservative legal scholars, commentators, and ed boards like Wall Street Journal all point out the flaws in the court's reasoning. I have said this many times: if the district court's decision or the Fifth Circuit's decision is upheld, it would put women's health at risk and undermine FDA's ability to keep safe and effective medications available for people who need them. And it could open the floodgates of attacks against any FDA-approved medication that Americans rely on for care. So today, you'll hear from the Vice President Harris, who will host a conversation in Reno to talk about the administration's work to protect reproductive rights, including new actions she announced last week to safeguard patient privacy. The stakes of this could not be higher. It could not be higher. And we're going to remain focused on prevailing in the courts so that women can access the care they need without government interference. All right, next up, as you know, it's tax day. Happy tax day, and we have some good news for taxpayers. I know people are always excited about this day.
Interesting.
Yesterday, we learned that thanks to new funding from President's Inflation Reduction Act, the IRS has significantly improved customer service. You see this to my left here. This tax season, the IRS answered 2.4 million more calls than last year, cut phone waits time from 27 minutes to 4 minutes. That's what you see here in this graphic behind me. Served 87% of customers who called up from just 15%, served 87% of customers who called up from 15% last year, and helped 100,000 more taxpayers in person. So now MAGA congressional Republicans want to repeal this progress, making customer services worse for hard-working taxpayers and making it easier for wealthy tax cheats and big corporations to get away with cheating on their taxes.
What?
So it's literally the first bill that the House Republicans have passed. That's how they want to move forward here. President Biden and congressional Democrats have a different agenda: more help for taxpayers while ensuring the super rich pay what they owe. That's what we're seeing today.
Whew. Now I feel better.
Finally, a word on the discussion today of the debt limit and the budget. So you've heard the president share his father saying, "Don't tell me what you value. Show me your budget, and I will." That will show me.
Tell me something we don't know. Yeah, tell me something we don't.
Us, you, the American people, what you value. And you hear the president say that over and over again. You've heard me say that, repeating the president from time to time here at the podium. And here's the thing: we still haven't seen a budget from House Republicans. What we have seen from them are trickle-down proposals that would sell out hardworking Americans. Speaker McCarthy doubled down on many of these proposals yesterday, and the Republican conference has advanced others that would kill jobs by sending manufacturing plants we're delivering overseas, end Medicare's new power we gave it to negotiate lower drug costs, increase energy costs while increasing the deficit, take food assistance and health care away from millions, make devastating cuts to veterans' benefit and education, defund law enforcement and border security. They're even talking about adding $3 trillion to our debt in wasteful tax giveaways to the richest Americans and big corporations.
That's a lie.
Compare that to what we're trying to do. Compare that to what this president is fighting for. Today, he's taking unprecedented actions on behalf of hardworking families to make child care more affordable, improve home care for veterans, and improve care for older Americans. He's laid out how to shrink the deficit by $3 trillion by ending wasteful subsidies for rich special interests and having them pay their fair share. That's all we're asking, for them to pay their fair share. Also, by expanding the power he gave Medicare to reduce lower drug costs. He's fighting to pick up the pace of the reshoring trend he's leading right now. He wants to support law enforcement with funding for community policing and to ban assault weapons so that we can reduce gun crime and save lives. And he wants to preserve our most basic rights, like the right of women to make their own health care decisions.
Here we go.